Greetings, Lighthead here, and today I'm diving headfirst into a very controversial issue that's sweeping the world and upsetting emotionally, intellectually, and socially clueless people everywhere. It shouldn't, of course. It's ridiculous and akin to babies throwing their toys out of the pram, but happening it is, and hopefully even one person may get something real out of this video because these people clearly aren't dealing with reality on a regular basis. I speak, of course, of the Supreme Court ruling on trans people.
Blah, 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 blah.
It's completely necessary, obviously, because it's gotten out of hand, here and in the States. Laws needed to be established and people put in their place because many of them obviously can't be trusted to live in the real world without having their hands held. Growing up as an LED-faced, LED hoodie-lined precocious young scamp, it was very important to my parents that I be bestowed with a wealth of common sense, because we're essentially lost without it. As Joey, my main man Swole, would say,
"You need to do better.
Teach me values, Joey."
They also ensured, among other things, that I understand the concept of being one gender trapped in the body of another gender. Even then I considered the horror and unresolved frustration that must arise from finding oneself in this awful situation and being forced to live with it, even with the aid of surgery, because it's very obvious that merely making yourself look slightly more like the opposite gender isn't a true change. It's only a glamour designed to fool, and it can't even do that effectively. So from this perspective, can you imagine how offensive it looks to have millions of clueless people act like they're trans when they're not? Being trans is rare. Very rare, in fact. Therefore, the liberals who have jumped on the bandwagon are only pretending to be something they're not, and are doing so out of pure pretense. That's right. And they're pretentious for the following reasons. Number 1. Because being a sheep is easy. Most liberals are soft and limp-wristed, and as such will go with the crowd because it's scary to think individually. It means to defy common perception, to make yourself noticed, to stand out. But they don't have the fortitude to do so. It's also easier not to have to spend any effort thinking. If you can sleepwalk through life, then why not? Especially if mummy and daddy are paying your way. Just don't think about the fact that that can't last forever because that would be stressful, wouldn't it? Not thinking is much easier, right? Number 2. Because if you're lacking on the EQ scale, that stands for emotional quotient for the more clueless liberals, then it's easy to believe you're this or that when all the clueless people around you are saying the same thing. Why think like an individual and make an effort to understand who and what you are when you can just have everyone else decide for you? Most people are unfortunately ignorant of who they are. If asked, we would reply by giving our name. But a name is merely a sound, designed to be assigned for the purposes of recognition. And a sound that we make isn't us, is it? The food we like isn't us, is it?
You ask the average person who they are, they'll give you their name. They'll say, "I'm Bob Proctor," but I'm not. Bob and Proctor are 2 words. Then somebody will say, "Well, this is me," but this isn't me either, it's my body. See, I think we live simultaneously on 3 planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have an intellect, and we live in physical bodies.
Okay.
But because we lack awareness or understanding of who we are, we're totally locked into a physical world, and we let things outside of us control us.
So who the hell even are we? Whatever you do, don't ask a woke person. Some of them can't even recite the alphabet. Number 3. Imagine actually being in that situation. Genuinely knowing, not feeling or reckoning, but knowing you're the wrong gender. Your brain chemistry irrevocably trapped with no way out. Such a thing is deeply personal, and to even have someone talk to you about it can seem incredibly invasive. So imagine how violative it must feel to have millions of fools stand up and pretend they're in the same boat because they're essentially children. Imagine the indignation of having people who lean a tad this way or that, getting high on ideas and medication and mutilating themselves, only to go prancing around advertising the fact online for all the uncaring world to see, and we really don't care. Or worse yet, to turn around and say, I regret getting the surgery, and now I'm sad.
So these surgeries are nothing more than plastic surgery. I've had several female to male friends, and you look at it and you just go, oh God, you paid for that. It's horrible.
Nobody can change genders. It's impossible. It's delusional. It's a mental illness.
It must be maddening for these genuinely trans people, but of course, we can't rely on liberals to understand the damage they do, or they'll just start throwing the toys out of the pram, as is their go-to response.
Get what you want, you don't.
Number 4. They rely on champions to cement their ideals because they can't do so on their own. This is why we have so much opposition by trans athletes. Having a so-called trans person go out onto the track and easily outrun every woman there makes the woke community feel good, like they've won a moral victory. Of course, what they've actually done is make an immoral victory, because competing against trans athletes is deeply unfair for women, and we're seeing more and more people reject this concept now.
Females must be protected in our division. This is unfair. I refuse to play.
Woo! Yeah!
And despite this, they keep insisting that we put women with naturally born men into scenarios like a boxing match and expect they won't be sent to the hospital. Also, they can go to a bar afterwards and raise a margarita to equality. Woo! Number 5. They lack perspective. Let's pretend for a moment that the trans issue is actually something else. Let's pretend that instead of trans issues, it's people suffering from a disease like breast cancer. A deeply personal and troubling issue. Now, let's say that the Liberals chose to identify as people with cancer. That's a ridiculous comparison, you say. Well, I say, is it ridiculous? After all, you people look and act like this.
This is the neighborhood, and you are not welcome.
That's why I need to be here.
Try me!
It would be worth it if it could just save one life!
Imagine having breast cancer and seeing millions of ignorant, inconsiderate people walking around with their chests painted black, raving about how it's illegal not to have everyone in the world refer to them as breast cancer survivors. Liberals are ignorant, foolish, and cause untold damage every day in everything they touch, but because they lack emotional intelligence, they can't even be shown the error of their ways.
They're so frustrating!
So there we have it. I'm not conservative, as I've stated in previous videos, but I also can't abide these false liberals who are actually far-right extremists posing as liberals. See my woke issue video for clarity on the concept of cyclical political stances, if you still can't accept what I'm telling you. It's all really very simple when you look at it, and yet even simple things are overlooked by zealots because zealots are trained not to think. In my vegetarians and vegans video, I cover similar traits in those lacking EQ, but specifically regarding the trans issue, the damage to those who are genuinely trans is so much greater than simply protesting something like farming. These people are ruining our countries. They're making us look like fools before the world, and they dishonor those who are the real deal. It's truly shameful. Ultimately, I'd remind anyone invested in the trans debate who doesn't have their head screwed on tightly to stop for a moment, to look down, and recognize that you're trampling the roses. Don't march in the streets flailing and screaming and embarrassing yourself even more than you're already doing. Stop all that and ask yourself what a true trans person, not a fool, not a pretender playing childish games, no, a true trans person would say to you if you were facing one. They'd tell you to grow up and stop reminding them of their struggle. They'd tell you to shut up and get out of their sight. You're not crusaders. You're not fighting for what's right. You're children, raging against concepts you don't even understand. You should know better, but you don't, because you're lazy, selfish, and entitled, and so terribly, terribly cowardly. So please, for the sake of those who are actually suffering and not merely playing at being an adult, go away. Get to maturing, and when you're ready, then re-enter the world knowing you're a fully grown and well-rounded person. Because as it stands, you're not. Like and subscribe.